My name is Roger Armstrong. I was a psychic child born in 1930. That makes me 85. Yeah. Now, a lot of this information on telepathy comes from teaching college classes at Purdue University. And I taught a class or classes that covered from the fetus in its first awareness development up to age 65, covering perception. So that's where all this information comes from. It came to my attention, the idea of young mothers or of mothers connecting with their fetus. I like to call the fetus the newness, in connection with the newness. And it happened this way. I was in the co-op. That's our local organic shopping store. And I was trying to convince a friend of mine that telepathy exists. And he was saying it does not. A lady or a young woman came up to us with 2 children and her shopping cart almost full and said, "I'm telepathic, and I'm telepathic with my children. And if I wasn't telepathic with them and they weren't with me, I wouldn't know half the time what they needed." So she said to this young man, "So you can take it from me, telepathy exists." And then she walked around us and walked down the aisle. That started me on a series of adventures, I guess I'd call it, where I would sit in the co-op. Now I'm handicapped, so I sit in an electric cart. So I would position myself in the co-op and I would telepathically tell a story. I liked listening to the bustle of the store calm down as the kids started to listen telepathically. The youngsters are used to connecting with the mom, so it's very common for them to understand a feminine thought. Most of the kids are only used to the feminine thought because their primary connection is their mom. So the idea of a man's telepathic or a masculine telepathic message to them, picturing, intrigued them very much. And so because of this, I make an attempt to talk telepathically with most young children and say hello, picture myself waving, asking them a question about a toy they have that they're carrying, get them a little bit of conversation telepathically. But the storytelling is really fun. Afterward, the response of the children surprised me. As I'm going shopping, continuing shopping after my storytelling, a little girl in maybe 2 years old in her mom's shopping cart, as she's going by, hands me her half-eaten banana. She wants to say thank you. So she says, "Thank you, here's my banana." And so I took the banana and made like I was taking a bite of it and handed it back to her, much to her relief that she got it back. But I would get dolls given to me, or a young boy in a cart would give me a toy that he had to keep him busy, that his mom had to keep him busy. And I would play with it a little bit and then give it back to them. They would stick their heads around the corner, the 8-year-olds, and wave at me and say thank you. That was a good story. Moms would whisper thank you, and the bustle would build up in the store again. Now, all children have this capability. Oftentimes, they develop it with a family pet. Now, my grandson, or one of my grandsons, was playing with blocks, and I was visiting. And he was arranging them on the floor in the alphabet organization, A, B, C, following each other. And we were doing it telepathically. He was saying, "What's next?" And I would showing the picture, and he'd put it in. Hobbs the dog came up and gave him a headbutt. And he said, "Not now, Hobbs," telepathically. And Hobbs said, "Now, I want to go out." So he said, "Okay, Grandpa, I have to take a break." He said that aloud. So they went downstairs, down some steps, to the outside door, screen door, that led into the basement or the outside. But the door was locked. And so Jake turned and said to Hobbs, "I can't open the door." And Hobbs looked at him carefully and said, "This is what you do," and showed him how to unlock the screen door. Jake unlocked the screen door, opened it, and Hobbs ran out. And I was watching all of this, and I said, "Well, I'll get my shoes on and we'll follow Hobbs out and we'll take him for a walk." And Jake looked at me and says, "Hobbs will take us for a walk." So this is part of the awareness. Here's a dog and a child interacting like they're equal beings. And this is the way it is with pets if you can communicate with them. And most young children can. Now, before the child is born, when it's still a newness, the first awareness that they develop is empathy. And that's natural because it's empathy with a mom. And the mom has empathy with the newness. They're connecting. Now, the newness, is happy with just one contact. When it gets two contacts, like from an animal, of a family pet, or from the father, or from a sibling, it assigns that energy a color. That's how it keeps track. Now, this first step of awareness is very important because it's the basis of telepathy. It actually happens in the 6th or 7th month and develops further if contact is maintained in the 8th and 9th month. the mom can be in contact. And that's very important. Now, basically, we all have 6 mind brains. We have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the limbic, the primal, the cellular, and the liquid frequency mind. The conscious mind is the judgmental mind. It's the logical mind. And interestingly, even though as adults we have learned to rely upon it for judgments, it's the slowest mind to fully develop. It doesn't fully develop until we're well in adulthood, 35, 38, 40 years old. One of the first minds to develop, well, there's 3 of them actually that kind of go together. The limbic mind is the switchboard. It decides what physical sensations go to what other of the 6 minds. Then there's the primal mind. The primal mind assumes or is given the responsibilities for bodily functions, for hunger, waste management, breathing, heartbeat, hot or cold. Those kinds of sensations are the primal mind. Next is the cellular body mind. Now, when the cells divide, a new DNA is formed. So as it grows and the cells divide, each cell contains a full DNA. Now, interestingly, as a side note, this also means that it's connected with our psychic history. Our past lives are all represented in that DNA because they all contribute to it. Like we have 3 to 8% of our DNA is from the Neanderthal species. Now, they were the first colonists to Earth. Now, let's get back to our minds. The cellular body, then the liquid frequency mind, holds our current memories in frequencies. Now, frequencies are infinite in number. And there's an earth frequency, and telepathy has a frequency. And it's technically it's in the alpha or theta body range of brain waves, which are slow. The Earth varies between 7.8 and 8.5 in intellectual frequencies, which is kind of an interesting side fact. Okay. Now I call these the empathy, the subconscious, the limbic, the primal. I call the spherical mind, because they join together in cooperation. The conscious mind likes to dominate the spherical mind. So the spherical minds operate best when the conscious mind is given something to do that allows it to ignore them. Now this works very well with the child, with the newness, because the conscious mind has no judgments to make, either in physical or in, later on as an adult, in the moral concepts that it develops for humans. Now, the spherical mind is non-logical. The conscious mind likes to form a hypothesis or a basic thought and take that thought from point A to point B without any variation in between to its conclusion. Now, the spherical mind builds thought through random input, and it's fun to watch. I'm able to do that through a remote viewing, and it starts with just not really a thought, but a need, and fulfills that need by other nodes joining it and other solutions, possible solutions joining it. And so the spherical mind offers more than one conclusion. It gives you a choice of how to solve that problem, of anywhere from 3 to 10 solutions, depending on how you want to work it. But that's the adult stuff. Right now, with newness, it's just a matter of what is this, what is that it's questioning as new stimulus comes to bear through the mom